Hello everybody, August 1st, 2022. We're going to take a look at Bitcoin first. Let's take a look at what I said on Friday. So we had eliminated the immediate bearish path last week, which is good. And we have two bullish paths that I think at the moment are most likely with the yellow count and a top around 25.26 was seeming the most likely. But whenever we get that, one higher high now, we've got a decent looking 5-wave diagonal. So let's see. In the short term, this most importantly, I was expecting a B-wave pullback, normal target of 21.9 to 22.9. You can see right now we're right about the top of that area there. It's corrective action, it's variable, so that's sort of just a placeholder. Right now it's the normal target, but it may or may not actually hold. I think there's a pretty good chance that this area holds, though. I'm looking, probably lower 22Ks, but we should be done then. After that, we should see a major rally off of this low whenever we find a bottom, and we will probably be finishing off wave 5, but there's a possibility that we're actually just in wave 3. So I'll go over a couple different things here. Once again, all of this action is incredibly choppy, which just makes it really difficult to track and have high probability trades during. So the question is, for me, really between the yellow and the blue. And so the difference being, this is 1 in yellow and 2 in yellow. It's also 1 and 2 in blue. All right. Now the thing is, we typically see in a diagonal 3-wave moves, right? We have sort of an A, B, C here in 1. We have sideways A, B, C here in 2. That's 3-wave moves, right? This doesn't really look like an ABC. It certainly could be. It could be a shallow one. So that's the difference between these counts, though, is that this is saying that's all of 3, whereas the blue count would say that's A, B, and we get one more high for C, somewhere up here in this region, potentially in the 27, 28, 29 area, to finish off that C wave. Based on all of the action that we're seeing, at the moment, I think it's less likely that we're going to get that, and more likely that we're going to get this yellow count, which says 3 ended back here. That was our pullback in 4, and now we're making a push upwards in 5. And this was a 5-wave move up in A. Right now we're seeing a B wave pullback. Remember I said B wave pullback to 21.9 to 22.9, which is where we currently sit, and then C wave to end 5 up here, potentially 25, 26, even 27, depending on how long it takes to get there. Somewhere up there would then give us a semi-decent 5-wave move off the low. We'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right. It's a diagonal, and so it's less reliable than if this was doing an impulse for us. But it's not surprising, I suppose, after such a bearish move off of the 69K high that we saw. We came all the way down to 17, so it's not really surprising that the bulls don't have the energy right now to actually support an impulse. But regardless, 5-wave move up is bullish, right? So ideally, really the ideal situation is that we hold anywhere in this green box here, and then we push up either to the yellow, or we push up significantly higher, which would indicate blue. If blue is in play, that means we then still have a 4 and a 5 to go before we get the second wave pullback. So that's the reason we're kind of trying to figure out which one of these is going to play out, because once 5 plays out, if it's yellow or blue, in either case that makes a first wave, and we would then see a pretty major second wave pullback. In this yellow scenario, it could even go 20K or slightly below 20K if it wanted to. In the blue scenario, I would expect it to hold a little bit higher, but we'd still come back likely into the 20K region, mid 20K region for that second wave pullback. So those are the two bullish paths that I see as possibilities right now. The bearish path, which is still completely possible, is this red path right here. And this we have to be careful of. Now, so far, I don't see any indications that this is going to play out, okay? But we do need to be careful because this all could be a gigantic WXY, and then we can crash down to new lows from there. Now, what I would expect to see if that were the case is I would expect to see an impulsive move off of a high. And this micro action started out looking like maybe that is what it was going to give us. We potentially had a 1-2 here in an impulse, and then wave 3 would have had to get to here without being so incredibly choppy. And obviously it failed that. In fact, on this bounce here, that invalidated this as an impulse. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going lower. We certainly can. I just think it's probably going to take the shape of a diagonal, which leans me more towards finding support here and making that next high. But the real warning sign, honestly, would be if it breaks below 20.7, whatever this low is here. That would be a pretty bad sign. Well, I can't even say that because there's one more alternative where we're stuck in sideways chop here. This is orange. Again, I hate these diagonal patterns because they're impossible to predict, but so this could be ABC to the yellow trend line and then up for 5. That's a possibility too. So just keep that in mind, in the back of your mind. So really the only thing that we can go on is breaking down this yellow trend line. Breaking down the yellow trend line would be bad. That'd be a bad sign. Beyond that, I really can't say what the probability of a new low is. But if we break below that, a direct drop down right now is like 20.5. So kind of use that 20.5 area, and obviously that increases as we go along with time. But right now we really need to hold that 20.5-ish level if we want to avoid new lows or potentially an equal low. I mean, this could be, up and then we come just down to an equal low. It doesn't have to make a new low. That, of course, would be okay and would give bulls a chance to give us an impulse again, but breaking the yellow line would make me want to get protective for sure. Now, speaking of protection, over the weekend, on Sunday, we had what, in my opinion, was a fairly obvious scam pump right here on both Bitcoin and ETH. So I am short from Bitcoin now, right around 24K, and I shorted Ether at 1740. I got pretty close to the high on ETH, so I'm short on both of those as hedges, and just kind of holding them for now until we see better evidence of a bottom being formed in place down here. So let's see, zooming in, I'm going to get rid of these impulsive boxes because that's not what it's going to do. It can completely reasonably stay within this channel though and just keep chopping downwards till it's done. 4 may or may not have been finished here. I think more likely we continue to see this chop, within this area for a bit and then make one final low. Flush out any stops below here and any stops below here. That would make a lot of sense. So lower 22K area makes a lot of sense for this to be the end of the correction. So that's my expectation, but we will probably see some chop in the meantime. And that would end the C wave of the B wave of wave 5 in my primary scenario as the most likely one, I believe. Once we do, assuming we do have 5 waves play out here, we're going to have to watch pretty closely because it could give us an early warning sign. If all we get off of this is a 3-wave move and we fail to break this high, that could be a 1, 2, and then further downside. So that might be a good place to get protective as well. If we get 3 waves up instead of 5, that would be a good time to get protected, like I said, because that might indicate that we are in fact going to break down below that yellow line. But we'll keep watching all of that, and once there's a clear path that we're going to take, if that does come, I'll be sure to update you all, of course. All right, so there we have it. I think that's everything that I can possibly think of, all the contingencies and all of that. So as long as we hold this area, I'm pretty confident still that we see at least one more high here in that 25 to 27 area, I think is most likely. All right, guys, have a wonderful rest of the week. I will talk to you all on Friday. We'll see what the rest of the week brings and review the action at that time. All right, good night, everybody.